For generations, life had this really predictable rhythm, right? You learn, you work, and then you retire. But what if I told you that entire model is completely broken? We're now living in what's being called the cognitive age, and it's forcing us to fundamentally change how we think about our skills, our careers, and, well, learning itself.
And this quote right here, this is pretty much the core idea of this whole explainer. It just shatters that old school idea of a career being some kind of fixed destination. Instead, it reframes it as this continuous journey of learning. And trust me, this isn't just a clever saying, it's the new survival strategy. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to dig into why the old system just isn't cutting it anymore. Then, we'll look at the new models taking its place, see how companies and even governments are stepping up. And then we'll get personal and tackle the mindset shift we all have to make. Finally, we'll zoom out and see what our place looks like in this new world of constant learning.
All right, let's start with the problem. The old industrial-era career path was basically a straight line. You went to school, you got a job, you pretty much stayed there. That line, it's now a tangled mess. And the reason why is that the value of knowledge itself has totally changed. To really feel the urgency here, we have to talk about this concept, the half-life of a skill. Seriously, think of it like a battery in your phone losing its charge over time. It's a way of measuring just how fast your professional know-how becomes, well, outdated. I mean, remember being an expert in some specific software from like 10 years ago? That skill's battery is pretty much dead now. And this number, this is kind of staggering. 5 years. That's it. Half of what you know today as a super valuable technical skill could pretty much irrelevant in just 5 years. So that degree you got, that wasn't the finish line. Nope. That was the starting pistol for a race that literally never ends.
And this quote just brilliantly sums up the massive challenge for a whole education system. See, it's not that schools are failing, it's that the finish line is constantly moving. And you know what? This isn't a crisis. It's actually a massive invitation to completely reinvent how we approach learning.
Okay, so if the old system is a broken pipeline, what do we replace it with? Let's talk solutions. We have to shift our thinking from this rigid, linear pipeline to something way more flexible and dynamic, a platform.
Just look at the difference here. The old pipeline was totally one-size-fits-all. Everybody got pushed through the same process to get the same piece of paper. The new platform model? It's a whole different ballgame. It's built for a world that's always changing, giving you these modular, personalized learning experiences that adapt to exactly what you need right when you need it.
And hey, this isn't some far-off theory. It is happening right now. We're seeing whole countries, like Finland and Singapore, using AI to create custom learning paths for students. You've got corporate giants like IBM and Amazon building their own global academies, handing out these micro-credentials that the industry actually respects. We're even seeing a comeback of guilds, but in a digital format, where your skills get validated by a network of people who actually do the work.
So, here's the absolute key. It's no longer about what you know, the stuff you own in your head. It's all about how good you are at accessing learning when you need it to pick up new skills on the fly. Your ability to learn is now your most valuable asset, period.
And this leads to a really wild development. If learning is now a constant part of work, then the workplace itself is becoming the new classroom. I mean, the most innovative universities of the next decade, they might not be universities at all.
Just check out these examples. Amazon will literally pay for its employees to go study for careers outside of Amazon. Google is creating these certificates that hundreds of employers now see as being just as good as a traditional degree. That line between being an employee and being a student, it's basically dissolving right in front of us.
So why are they doing this? Is it just charity? Not a chance. As you can see from this super simple chart, the money side of this makes perfect sense. The cost of losing an employee and having to hire a new one, this really high bar, is way, way more than the cost of just training your current people, this lower bar. Learning isn't a perk, it's a hardcore business investment. And it isn't just companies. Really forward-thinking governments are redesigning the whole social contract. In Singapore, every citizen gets skills future credits they can use for training throughout their lives. Denmark lets people take mid-career breaks to retrain without losing their income. Canada's even testing out a national learning passport so your credentials can travel with you. They're not guaranteeing lifetime employment anymore, they're aiming for lifetime employability. But look, you can have all the best programs in the world, and they won't work if we don't address the biggest hurdle, the one that's inside our own heads. This is the most personal and maybe the most important part of this entire puzzle.
We have to get real about the psychology of learning when you're not a kid in a classroom anymore. This question. We've all felt it, right? That fear of starting over, of looking dumb, of failing where everyone can see it. That insecurity is a huge, huge barrier, and we can't just pretend it doesn't exist. Any successful learning program has to deal with this emotional stuff just as seriously as it deals with the technical skills. So how do we build up that resilience? Well, it starts by deliberately building a new identity for ourselves, one that's centered around curiosity. The best programs, they use coaching to build your confidence, not just your competence. They set up peer mentorships so you feel like you're in it with other people, not all alone. And they include emotional intelligence training to give you the tools to handle that anxiety that comes with stepping into the unknown.
And here's the honest-to-God truth. The biggest thing holding us back isn't a lack of information. It's our own ego. It's that feeling that we've made it, that our expertise is set in stone. And overcoming that ego means getting into the habit of being a beginner, again and again. It means actually seeking out feedback and reframing "I don't know" as "I get to find out."
So let's pull all this together. If we can make these shifts as institutions and as individuals, we step into this incredible new reality. Welcome to the infinite classroom, where learning isn't something you do to get ready for life. Learning is life. For centuries, your value was pretty much decided by this one question. Your worth was all tied up in your fixed body of knowledge, your degrees, your credentials. It was a static measurement for a world that didn't change very fast.
But today, that old question is obsolete. The new question, the one that is going to define your success, your value, everything, is this one. It's not about the inventory of facts in your head. It's about your learning agility, your adaptability, your velocity.
Now, for this to really work, it has to be baked into our culture. Companies have to start rewarding people for trying new things, not just for perfectly executing old ones. Leaders have to be vulnerable and learn out loud to show everyone it's okay not to have all the answers. We all have to learn to see ignorance not as a weakness, but as the starting point for growth. The culture itself becomes the curriculum. And this puts everything into this huge perspective. Forget GDP or military power for a second. In this new cognitive age, the most powerful and successful nations might just be the ones that can re-educate their citizens the fastest. A country's learning velocity could become its most important statistic, which leaves us with this final critical idea. The future doesn't belong to the masters of a craft, because mastery is temporary now. It doesn't belong to the people with the most fancy degrees. It belongs to the curious, the adaptable, the humble. The future belongs to those who understand that the most important skill you can have is being willing to be a beginner.